New top 10. Here we go. I'm going to get a lot of crap for this. That's okay. Number 10, Texas. I know. Cue everybody in the comments. I don't want to see Texas. That is a talented bunch that's playing quality defense. If Arch starts playing like he has in the last couple of weeks on offense and they figure it out, they took a decent Vandy team and drilled them. Again, that game was not anywhere as close to indicative of the final score. I mean, drilled that Vandy team. There were some questionable officiating decisions that allowed Vandy to even put together the drives that they did. So Texas at 10. I'm just saying. I know it's a really tough road. They may end up 8-4 and out of this thing. I might have overlooked this the entire time. And all of you in the comments are going to love it if that happens. It's like there's a sector of people that love it when I go 1-3 in my picks versus the 4-0 that I went on Saturday. I'm not going to hear anything from those people then. And then there are some people like, as soon as Texas loses a game, they're just going to get all over me. But I'm going to keep Texas in my top 10. At number 9, oh yeah, cue them for this one too. They hate it when I do this. Notre Dame. Oh, especially you OU fans. Oh, man. And I've loved OU my entire life. I've been so supportive of OU forever. Oh, my gosh. And all you OU fans, you can't even handle the truth. I've got Notre Dame at 9. They took care of the Navy, 49-10. Jeremiah Love continues to be really good. At number 8, I've got Ole Miss. Now, I actually moved them down a spot. I'm starting to really love this idea of penalizing teams for ridiculous opponents, in particular in November. I mean, the Citadel, stupid. Now, Lane was cool. He jumped in and he photobombed the selfie. Did you see that? There was a couple that got engaged on the field and Lane jumped in. And it's like, listen, of course he did. Lane jumps into everything, including your engagement photo. Way to go, Lane. It was fun. They'll probably love it. They'll love it forever. Part and parcel. Number 7, I've got Texas Tech at number 7. I'm just going to reiterate. This is a team that's easily going to be in the quarterfinals, maybe a national semifinal. And what a year. Gosh, I'm happy for them. You know why? Because they went after it. They invested. And this is what I can't stand about people out there that are like, oh, I can't believe what Texas Tech is doing. Texas Tech wants to win. The rules allow them to do what they're doing. So it's like, if you don't like it, it's probably because you're not as committed as Texas Tech. Love what Texas Tech is doing. They're number 7. And then here's how I see the next 3 spots. And I see them as kind of like clumped together, this 6, 5, 4 area. I'm going to give you the 3 teams and then how I'm going to separate them out. I'm in no particular order thinking about Georgia, Oregon, and Alabama. And, as I take a look and it's like, I really want to honor the head-to-head with Georgia and Alabama, but when I group them in this grouping and I've got all 3 of them together, it's very clear to me that Alabama is actually the third of the 3. And the reason is because of what I said earlier in the show about answers. Oregon and Georgia have more answers, and they've shown me that they can answer the bell in more and different ways than just their best thing that they do. And because of that, I've got Alabama at 6. So Bama, they have that answer with the passing game, and that passing game is sensational when it's on. First half against Georgia, it was on. First half against LSU this last weekend, it was on. But then there are moments that it turns off. That's the problem. And when it turns off, man, it turns off for Alabama. Think of week 1 against Florida State. Think of second half against Georgia. Think of second half against LSU. Now, the defense showed up, and they did a lot of great things against LSU. And granted, LSU, who knows what's going on there? That's a bit of a dumpster fire. And I don't think they were playing very good, even though they did some nice things on the defensive side. That was I don't think that they played as well in this game as what Penn State did under an interim coach now in the third week of the interim coach against Indiana. Now, having said that, I do think that that's still a talented football team, so I don't want to minimize what Alabama has done. That's why I still have them at number 6. This is not about me hating Alabama. I think their passing game is elite, and it's really difficult to even slow it down. And most teams won't be able to slow it down, so that means I think Alabama can beat most teams, almost every team in the country. The problem is that when that goes away, Alabama doesn't have something else to go to. You know, the run game still hasn't quite got there for Alabama, and I think that could be a problem. The defense played well against LSU. That offense is a bit of a mess. They benched Garrett Nussmeier for Michael Van Buren, so they were having problems on that side. Okay, so now in this group of 3, now I've got Oregon and Georgia. How do I parse them out? I'm going to go Georgia 4 and Oregon 5. Okay, so Oregon is going to be at number 5. I just talked about them a lot, and I lumped them in with Georgia, and now you know why. They remind me of each other. These are teams that do a lot of great things. They're physically built to win tough football games. They can win nasty football games. They can win in shootouts. They can win on the road. They remind me a lot of each other, and I don't want to play them in the playoff. I'll be honest. If I'm anybody else, I don't really want to see one of these two teams. These coaches, obviously cut from the same cloth, are coaches that will have their team ready to go, and they will be prepared. There's no doubt. All right, and then now we get into this 3-2 range. This was tough for me as well. So 1 is going to be 1. And I've got these 2 teams sitting here. I don't love having to rank one over the other because I love both of these teams. And inevitably, you get pinned into these corners where someone will say this is because it's the conference affiliation, and others will say, other things, which I guess I shouldn't care about that. I'm going to go Texas A&M 3 and Indiana 2. And guys, that is a total flip of the coin. It could go either way for me. What can't go either way is Ohio State at 1. That is the clear best team in the country. More on them in a moment. But this 2-3, A&M was fantastic against Missouri. Really good. And I love the fact that they have balance and that they've won different styles of games. I said that with Georgia and Oregon, and I can say that confidently about Texas A&M. I'm a big fan of Marcel Reed. I'm a huge fan of Mike Elko. I've been saying this since the summer, that this is a good fit, that this is a good team, and that they could create some damage this year, and they're doing more than that. I feel great about Indiana. I'm one of those guys that sits in the camp. That was a great win on Saturday. That was a difficult win on Saturday. And you've got to win without your A game at times in difficult places under difficult situations, and they were able to do that. So, again, I really like both of these teams. I think there are a couple of concerns. My concern for A&M, their run defense, they gave up over 200 yards again. A&M is 132 out of 136 in yards per carry allowed when you strip out those sacks. I don't love that sack numbers are in rushing totals. So when it comes to rush defense, I always strip out sacks because that gives me a more clear picture of the way you defend when the opponent turns around and just hands the football off. Okay? And so when you strip out sacks, they're allowing 5.8 yards per carry. That's a concern. That's a concern. And there are teams that could or will be able to exploit that. Now, it's interesting because the matchup in the SEC championship game won't exploit that if they play Alabama. Now, if they were to play Oregon in the playoff, then they could be exploited in that. Texas Tech can run the football. Notre Dame can run the football. Who doesn't run the football great? Ohio State. Who does? Indiana. So it's like, what matchup are you going to get if you're Texas A&M? Indiana, what concerns me about Indiana is depth. You see that they're a different football team without Elijah Surratt out there, without Drew Evans, their left guard out there. They didn't have Aiden Fisher the week prior. So there's some issues right now from a health standpoint. They don't have the depth. They have not been recruiting at a top 10 level over the last 3, 4, and 5 cycles to have the depth necessary to survive injuries. We saw Ohio State survive injuries last year to their offensive line. They shifted things up and they won the national championship. If that happens at Indiana, they will not win a national championship. That's my concern for them, is the depth. They need everybody healthy. That's the biggest thing. And then number one is Ohio State. They're the best team in the country. Kind of period, end of story. I know some people want to argue that. And if you're arguing resumes, then I will absolutely agree with you. They do not have the best resume in the country. They do have the best turn the game on, watch them, tell me what you think about them resume, which is eye test. When you watch Ohio State, that's different. Their players are different. Now, talking to a lot of different coaches that have played Ohio State during the course of the year, and every single one of them, in particular the ones that saw them last year, the national championship year, they'll start saying things like, yeah, that's a better team than they were a year ago. And it's like, whoa. A lot of people point to the quarterback, and then everybody points to the defense. Now, Will Howard was solid, but he wasn't Julian Sand. And that defense was number one in the country, but they had to rebuild themselves during the year. They gave up a lot of points to Oregon and didn't play well in some other games as well, and still ended up being number one in the country. But this defense is suffocating. They are toying with people right now. They will be well rested. They rested, by the way, Carnell Tate on Saturday. That was precautionary. Jeremiah Smith, guess who they still have on the outside? Jeremiah Smith, by the way, last two games, 16 targets, 16 catches, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm like, what? What are we doing, man? This guy is insane, and that's without even Tate on the other side. Purdue tried just tackling him a couple of times. Didn't matter. He was still able to catch it. He had that tipped ball against Penn State. Now, they ran the football quite often. They wanted to work on running the football and get those young backs a lot of carries against Purdue, and they were able to do that. But, man, Smith is just turning into the supernova that we always thought he was and is and was going to be. Julian Sand now has 6 300-yard games in his last 8. So remember that slow start? Yep, that's no longer there. And then just real quick, if you're watching on YouTube, we've got this incredible graphic up right now about Jeremiah Smith. He now has 25 touchdowns in his career in 25 games, in his first 25 games. And he's the fastest to do that in Ohio State history by 6 games. The next closest is David Boston, who did it in 31 games. Excuse me. Man, that is wild. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.